Welcome to the I Work For Him podcast. I'm Michael Miracle, producer of the I Work For Him radio program, the voice of the faith and work movement. Our mission is to transform the workplace of every Christian into a mission field. What does that look like in your workplace? Let's find out right now.
You've tuned into I Work For Him, the mouthpiece for the faith and work movement. We're your hosts, Jim and Martha Brangenberg.
Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm excited for this show, and I look forward to what God is going to show you and lead you as listeners. Maybe you already are plugged in someplace local, but if not, especially we want you to hear what this show is about. So remember, all of our shows are on our YouTube channel now. So go to I Work For Him, search it on YouTube, and you can actually watch the interviews as we do them. It really is a fun added element because a lot of us are visual. And so I love to see people,
You couldn't see that on the podcast, could you?
No, you'd have never known that.
But you could see it on YouTube.
Everybody listening to the podcast is wondering what Jim just did. So you're going to have to go to YouTube.
That's right.
Check us out there. I Work For Him.
On YouTube. That's perfect. Or also always on our website, iworkforhim.com. We invite you to check out for the Awaken Podcast Network. It's right there on the front page. Click on the button. A little over 10 years ago, I had the privilege of joining a networking group in Largo, Florida. This networking group impacted my life, and many of the group are still my friends today. Mm-hmm. And this wasn't a Christ-centered group, but it was full of incredible Christians living out their faith in their work. Today, the world has changed. And we're introducing you today to the premier Christian networking group launching countrywide at g7networking.com. Bob Willbanks and his team at Ambassadors for Business have created the perfect model for networking and faith for maximum kingdom impact in the marketplace. There will be opportunities around the country for you to launch a G7 networking group, building kingdom collaboration within your business community. Actually, any of your workplace community. Bob Willbanks is here to roll this out to the I Work For Him audience. Bob Willbanks, welcome back to I Work For Him.
Thank you, Jim and Martha. So good to see you. I'm kind of wondering, though, all this visual stuff that you're talking about, you guys look a lot like, I look more tan than you do, and I'm in Minnesota. You're down in Florida. What's up with that?
Yeah, we've been hunkering down inside a lot lately. We just had that conversation that we need a little bit of vitamin D in our life. Also, we're matchy today. Jim.
Well, I called the matchy person. Yeah, but it is true, Bob. We are seriously lacking a suntan, and we know that. But see, in Minnesota in the wintertime, you get a tan like right off the snow, and we don't have. Yeah, we're not.
This is a wind burn. From this morning, it was 10 below zero wind chill.
All right, Bob. Let's jump into this. Where did the idea for Ambassadors for Business come from?
So for me, I was a typical Christian in the marketplace. I call it miserably saved. It's where, I'm Christian, I identify as Christian, but don't look at the way I'm living my life, please, because it's kind of scary. And, not putting God first and keeping him in the middle of everything that was going on in my life had some pretty bad consequences for me throughout my life. And I won't get into my testimony, but you mix a type A personality with a tendency to over consume alcohol, and you get a lot of bad situations over a period of time. And I had all these meteoric rises to the top of business, only to crash back to earth in flames and have to rebuild. And as I really embraced my faith, I started wondering, what can I be doing out in the marketplace to really live my faith out? How can I connect my faith and work? And I had joined CBMC, Christian Businessmen's Connection, up in the Twin Cities, and was pretty active there, but I still just wasn't getting answers that I was looking for. I wasn't finding, a movement of people that were interested in that same thing. And so I really began to be compelled to start a Christian organization that would connect people of faith in the marketplace and help them do business together more efficiently while we equip them to grow personally, professionally, and spiritually. So that's what it was all about.
So over these last several years, as you've been growing the Ambassadors for Business, what has defined your mission? What is it that's really defined that?
Well, I think, it was a progression, definitely. It started with just this concept of, hey, let's go out and tap into the miserably saved Christians in the marketplace and just provide encouragement. And I was really just relying on iron sharpening iron more than anything else. But then programs start to develop and keynotes start to come in and God just keeps bringing tools and resources into the ministry. And we really stumbled upon the fact that what people were really looking for was that same thing that I was thirsting for. How do I connect my faith and work? So we really started to pivot and create safe places for Christians to meet, pray, go through some scripture, have a keynote that's helping them grow personally, professionally, or spiritually, network, do those types of things. And as we did that, we realized that what was happening was a word that I had received, which was equipping. And equipping is actually an acronym for engage, question, understand, identity, principles, purpose, integrate, network, and grow. So it was a word that I received one morning after fasting and being in prayer for about 36 hours. And it really does drive everything that we do at Ambassadors for Business. As a matter of fact, that's what created the ambassador commitment, which is as ambassadors for business, we're meant to meet people where they're at, to help them engage in a more intimate relationship with Jesus Christ, so they can ask life's big questions and gain the understanding that their identity is in Him. Once they get that, they can build their principles on the solid rock and foundation of the Bible, discover their true purpose in life, and begin to integrate with society as the salt and light God intended them to be, building out not only their network, but the network for the kingdom, and growing in all aspects of their life. So that's equipping, and that's what drives the business.
And speaking of networking, we want to talk about these G7 networking groups. They're about ready to roll out nationwide, and we're going to do so. We're going to be right back with more with Bob Willbanks from Ambassadors for Business. We want you to check him out online, g7networking.com, g7networking.com. We'll be right back. I hate having my picture taken. It's such an inconvenience because I have to worry about my hair and oh, wait, I actually love having my picture taken because I have no hair and I can make funny faces all the time like this. Check Martha and I out on Facebook and Instagram for all the latest on I Work For Him, and of course those occasional last-minute special event podcasts that we do and funny pictures and conversations. Just search for I Work For Him. That's I Work, the number 4, Him. Hey, we're back with Bob Willbanks from Ambassadors for Business talking about G7 networking groups. They're going to roll out across the nation here in 2021. G7networking.com, G7networking.com. Bob, where did this come from? Where did this idea for G7 networking group? There's networking groups all over the place, Bob. Why G7 networking?
Well, a wise friend once told me, give people what they need in the context of what they want. And when we were surveying our client base, our members, 85% of the people were responding that in their top 3 reasons for being part of Ambassadors for Business, in that top 3 was networking. And I'm like, man, God's trying to tell us something here. When I first started it, I thought we were supposed to be like a Christian B&I type of organization. And we just frankly weren't ready for that. We didn't have the infrastructure in place. We didn't have the ability to train up leaders. There was just so many things missing. And so it was sunset. I mean, literally this G5networking.com was, G5 networking was what we launched with. And so, now we're just better. We're G7. We're 2 better than G5, right? But I'll get into some of that in a minute. But, I think that the primary thing for me was, Christians are looking for the opportunity to be able to come together and do business together. Mm-hmm. And especially in days and times like this, where we're locked down and can't do can't do business the way we did in the past, doesn't it make sense to get with people of like mind and spirit and start to drive some business for ourselves?
Yeah.
Right.
That's one of the things I love is that unashamedly, we still have businesses. That's what God has called us to do. And let's grow them and work together. So tell us what those 7 G's are that make up G7 networking.
Well, it's gospel, group, grade, God, grow, get, and give. So we start with just a brief bit of scripture, prayer. Then we move into group introductions, and it's not an elevator pitch. This is an opportunity to get to know one another, okay? So we talk about things like, hey, I live in Rosemount, Minnesota with my wife. We're basically in a retirement community. Our favorite thing to do is play with our grandkids on the weekend. We have sleepovers like every weekend of the year. So something personal. Talk to people a little bit about who you are, what makes you tick. So that's the group portion. Then grade is where we drive the result. You got to measure what you want to manage, right? So we got all these measurements inside of the app that has been built, which is G7 Networking. It's actually www.g7networking.com because it's a web application. You need to put that www in there in order to have it pull up appropriately. And once you're in and you're a member, all the tools and tool sets come in, and we can grade the group so we can drive the results. Then we put God in the middle. Right? That's where one of the members gives their testimony each meeting. So it just rotates around. It gets people better at telling their story. Our number one tool when we're out amongst non-believers, right? They can't refute our story. And we get to know each other better. Then we finally have a section of grow, just 10 minutes where we do a brief teaching on personal, professional, or spiritual growth. And then get and give, the reason why people are there. What's your get? Why are you here? What are you looking for? How can we help you? And after you hear all of those, who can you help, right? Mm-hmm. So what's your give?
And so you're not only, you're building relationships, you're weaving the gospel within, you're teaching people how to live out the gospel while they're doing business. You're building relationships between those people. You're trying to generate business between the networking partners. So it's so much more. G7networking.com is starting one of those groups is so much more than, it's not a Bible study, but it's not just a networking group. This is a real kingdom enterprise, isn't it?
Yes, it is. The groups that have launched here in the Twin Cities, we started back in May with the effort to start pulling people together. And currently we've got 12 groups in various stages of launch around the Twin Cities. We're starting to foray out around the country. We have a training program that we put together that's online, on demand, at your own pace to help people understand what it takes to get them up and running with their G7 networking group. So they can, if they want to launch a group, we've got the process to do it. We just need them to sign up and become a member. Which, we'll get into costs and stuff like that here in a minute, I'm sure. But sign up and become a member, and there's no risk. I mean, if for some reason you don't launch, we will refund your money, okay? But we need you in. We need to know that commitment is there. And then you just tell us, I'm in this area. I'd like to be a president and launch a group. I'd like to start the training program. We get you set up in the app, and we start the training.
When we come back, we're going to hear more about the costs and how you could set up a G7 networking group in your city. Go to G7networking.com. G7networking.com. We'll be right back.
One of the ways I keep Jim under control is to tell him to go write something. It's sometimes the only quiet I get during the day. I would love it if you would go and subscribe to our weekly blog so I can keep getting those quiet moments every week. I could use more, but I will be grateful for at least that 1/2 hour. Jim's blog is written from his heart on what our Father is speaking loudly to him right now. I think you'll enjoy it. iworkforhim.com and click on the word blog to subscribe.
Hey, we're back with Bob Willbanks from Ambassadors for Business talking about G7 networking groups, G7networking.com, G7networking.com.
So Bob, I am the kind of person that's like, wow, this sounds, so amazing, but I need to know more details. How can people, I think really the best thing is just how can people start to engage with you to learn more and find out about the costs and what their commitment might be? Maybe they're in a town where they think this would really be something that could be helpful for them.
Well, we'd love to have a conversation with them. I think, first and foremost, you can find just about everything you need out on the site. So if you go to www.g7networking.com, you will find there's a PDF that describes the 7 Gs, how the meeting works. There's a little video of me describing the meeting. We have an FAQ out there of just other questions that people might have about, what does it look like? And just keep in mind, if we don't have it all quite ready for I Work for Him and all the traffic you guys will drive to it. We've had we don't have anything set up on the website right now. We plan to by Friday that says start a group, right? Because we've been very focused on just driving the groups here in the Twin Cities. But now we're ready. We are ready to push this out. So, please, if you see for some reason that you're not getting what you need and you want to talk further, just reach out to me. It's real simple. I'm just B as in boy, Willbanks, Willbanks @ AFB, as in boy, NL.com. So I'm sure that'll be posted out on the site as well when we go. But just get in touch with me. I'll be happy to do a one-on-one and walk you through it.
Excellent.
All right, so how do you see the community benefiting from G7 networking groups?
Well, what we've already seen is, first off, it brings the community together, and it does start to drive the economy. You know, it's an economic engine that's out there, especially for the Christian community. And then there's encouragement for each one of the members inside of the community to be that salt and light. You know, I think a lot of us have been hiding our lights under the table, right? To get it up and out and on top of the hill and let people know that, hey, it's okay to be Christian, even in today's world, right? And we that encouragement that you have with the others that are back at your G7 networking group during the work week, out in the marketplace, you know, just really refreshes, engages, and pushes it forth. And we encourage the presidents of those locations to seek out community engagement type things so we can get the group out in the community. Don't just stay behind the four walls of the conference room you're meeting in or wherever it is you're meeting. Get out in the community, get engaged, make a difference out there. So
if somebody wants to start a G7 networking group and they're not in the Twin Cities, how do they get started? What's the steps they need to take, Bob, to get a hold of you?
So first and foremost, you know, I mean, if this sounds really good, I just encourage you, get out and join. And the app will walk you through, you know, signing up. We ask all the questions that we need to know in order to be a service to you. The cost is $100 initiation, and it's $39 a month. You can choose an annual payment option of $420, which saves you, it's $429, I think it is, saves you 1 month. Okay, so there is that option out there. So $100 initiation, and then either $39 or $420. That gets you in. That shows us that you're committed. It gets us the information we need because you fill out the application, and we know who you are, and we will reach out to you and start coaching you through the process. The thing is, the clock doesn't start ticking on your monthly membership or that annual renewal, okay, until you launch your group. So it could take you, 3-4 months to launch your group. There's no billing during that time going on, okay? So it's very safe, and if for some reason you don't launch, we will refund the money, okay? So
here's a question for me. If I were interested in this, but I don't really know, I want to experience, can people participate in anything from distance, to learn more and see, wow, this really is something that I want to have in my area? Just talk into that.
Amen, and absolutely, yeah. So we have a Zoom-based meeting at least once a month. We are, with this ramp up, probably going to be moving that to a bi-weekly Zoom. We have actually one group that's forming that wants to be a Zoom global group. So they're just seeking members that do business globally. And there'll be a lot of those types of things that are going on, especially with COVID. We'll have hybrids. We'll have people that are just meeting on Zoom and others that are doing it in person. And it works in every one of those environments.
So, Bob, as you look at how God has prepared you for this moment with G7networking.com, G7networking.com, what are you hoping God does in your life as a result of all this year?
Well, I think this is a pivotal piece to the ministry. It's something that God brought.
Wait a minute, Bob. I didn't ask about the ministry. I asked about you.
Yeah,
how do you expect God to work in your life?
I know what you're saying, but I've got to say it this way because I'm so intertwined, just as you guys are, with I work for Him. The ministry is just woven right into the fabric of who I am. And, I think what this does is it provides an economic engine for this organization to really be able to start putting all the tools and resources in place that we need to keep furthering what God would have us do, giving glory to Him and bringing glory to the kingdom. By doing that, it finally gives me some of the bandwidth I've been looking for. So this is to answer your question, to be able to get still, get quiet, and continue to seek, what it is that He has for me in my life, right? We can get I'm a type A. I mean, I get out there and I go. I see something, I go for it, right? I've been working on something I think that's very important called striving to abide. I'm trying to point my striving at abiding with Him. And I think as this comes forth, He's given me that opportunity to bring in champions underneath me in this organization that are really right alongside, locking arms and surpassing me. They're doing a greater job with things than I could ever do, right? And it's freeing me up to do what I need to be doing to really truly lead this organization to where it needs to be. And it's so fulfilling, to see that happening and to know that I can always trust him and I can always rest in him.
Amen.
That is for sure. We want to encourage all of you to check out g7networking.com. If you're out there in the marketplace, you're out there really trying to sell something, represent a product, and you're a Christ follower and you're wondering, what does it look like to live out my faith while I do this? The G7 networking groups are going to help you figure that out. It's going to help you refine your faith. It's going to help refine how you present your faith and your product to the marketplace. G7networking.com. We encourage you to check it out. Set up groups like this to really minister to your community across the country. G7networking.com. Thank you, Bob Willbanks.
Thank you, guys. What a blessing to have you on the air, and we love I Work for Him. Thank you.
You've been listening to I Work for Him with your hosts, Jim and Martha Brangenberg. We're Christ followers in our workplace. It's our mission field, but ultimately, I work for Him.
Thank you for listening to the I Work for Him podcast with your hosts, Jim and Martha Brangenberg. Please visit iworkforhim.com to learn more about connecting your faith and work, to join the I Work for Him Nation, or subscribe to our weekly blog. You can also follow us on social media at I Work for Him to stay up to date and meet our guests. If today's message spoke to you, please subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast platform. Your review will launch more workplace missionaries across America. That's at I Work for Him and online, iworkforhim.com. I work the number 4him.com.